times. Queer times.
Queers in.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to Queer Times.
I mean, it's kind of Queer Times, but it's kind of a breaking news special report Queer Times because we didn't exactly record a full episode this week because Harrison obviously had to move across the country, and we did try. I feel like we
tried twice.
We tried twice, and it just didn't work, and we were going to let it go, but then we realized that we really were quite frankly, one of the first news sources to really get behind Graham Platner.
Yeah.
And as homosexuals, we should address the current controversy. And so I dare say this is a breaking news segment, special session.
Yeah.
A Queer Time special session, right?
Yeah.
Have you had time to process your number one, you have an apartment in San Francisco, you're safe?
Yeah, I have an apartment in San Francisco. There is no furniture in it except for an air mattress, which I'm currently sitting on now. My laptop is being propped up with a suitcase, but I have furniture arriving today. I think today I get my bed and my mattress and my bed frame, and then throughout the weekend I'm getting other things to hopefully have a comfortable apartment in the next couple of weeks.
Big fan. Big fan of your comfort.
Well, one of the big things that I did, one of the first things I had to do, because this is why our first recording session this week was thwarted, was I didn't have internet. And I thought I could steal internet from my friend who lives upstairs from me, but that did not work. But now I have super, super fast internet.
You look so much less pixelated than before.
Yeah.
It's the facts.
Yeah. We couldn't do anything with my internet last week.
But let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's get into the special session. This is not going to be we're not doing a normal episode. We're doing just this thing. Let's talk about this topic that everyone's talking about. I've been excited to talk to you about this. Our main oysterman that we've been behind, he's progressive. He's got a grisly voice, and we're here for it. It has been revealed that he has had, and in the past perhaps enjoyed, Nazism so much that he got it tattooed on his body.
Well, basically, since Janet Mills entered the race, there's been a lot of controversy coming out around Graham Platner. And causation, correlation, who knows? I imagine it's more of a causation. He now has the entire DNC political machine against him. So things are going to come out, which I'm glad they came out, because I think these things need to come out. They need to be talked about. I'm happy it's happening well in advance of any election.
These are discussions that we need to have in general about people being able to evolve from their beliefs, but also about the larger issue of, being raised in systemic racism and how people absorb literally what's the word I'm looking for here? The signs of racism, right?
Yeah.
What do you know about?
Well, let's get into what happened, and let's talk about the tattoo. So Graham Platner got a tattoo. Okay, so in 2007, he was in the Czech Republic, Croatia. Yes. And he got a tattoo. He says that he was drunk. He was with some army buddies, and he says he picked out a mean-looking skull and crossbones off the flash wall and got it tattooed on his body.
Yes.
And he says he did not know that it had that connotation. He has since got it covered up with a Celtic knot and some dog imagery, because he says that him and his wife love dogs. Yeah.
Have we seen what the previous tattoo looked like?
It's tough because most of the videos and images are the tattoo was a little blown out at that point. But he's not denying that it was what is known to be Nazi imagery.
Okay, because I was looking at skull and crossbones, and I'm like, I don't know if I know Nazi imagery well enough to know that if I saw a skull and crossbones, I'd be like, that's Nazi imagery.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the only true Nazi imagery that I'm aware of, and I think everyone is aware of, is obviously a swastika.
Right.
He did not have a swastika tattooed on his body.
And I think that's important to clarify.
Oh, yeah. And I also think this happened in 2007. This was a time when the internet is not what it is today. Discussions around Nazism and Nazi imagery were not what they are today, because we didn't have Nazis in our government at the time, or explicit and expressed Nazis in our government. I didn't know that this was Nazi imagery until this report came out. And as I didn't know it was Nazi imagery, and Graham Platner says that he didn't know it was Nazi imagery, but also that's not a full-on defense of him because I also didn't get it tattooed on my body. And
There is that.
I think I would have done a little more research before getting it tattooed on my body. But he says that he was drunk. He says that he was with army buddies, and also researching was a different thing in 2007 as opposed to today.
Yes. Like, would we expect a 21-year-old, I'm assuming, Marine, drunk with his friends to be like, that skull and crossbones looks great. Let's Google it and just make sure that not some, I might run for office in 20 years. Let's make sure this tattoo isn't Nazi symbolism. Now,
you even say Google, like Google wasn't what it is today in 2007.
Right.
I imagine, yeah.
So what you're saying is you still
search.
You still stand Graham Platner.
I don't stan any politicians, stan policy positions, and his policy positions through his website have always been more aligned with my own, and that's why I supported his candidacy. And I also, let's just say first and foremost that neither of us are registered voters in Maine. Neither of us have ever lived in Maine. So when it comes down to it, this is truly for the voters in Maine to decide, because they're the only people who have say over whether he becomes the nominee or not.
Yes, I agree with you. This is most certainly for people in Maine, but I think it's an incredible opportunity to discuss how systemic racism plays out in our society, how we have a choice to either toss away anyone who has ever either had fucked up positions or made fucked up mistakes about tattoos, etc., and their evolution. Like, for me, I say we grew up in a racist society all across America. This is a young white man who then joined the military, which is not, especially in the early 2000s, a particularly politically correct place. I don't think it was just the tattoo. It was also the revelation that there were a lot of questionable Reddit posts and comments, and that he spoke in the way that we would expect a white, straight Marine to talk in the early 2000s. He wasn't running for office in the early 2000s. I respect somebody who, through life experiences and traveling and going to war and seeing different cultures, slowly undoing their own racism, slowly undoing their own homophobia, and coming out in favor and finding their own path to the right way. I think we need more of that. I don't think we always talk about we have a male loneliness problem, or we have like all the Rogans and all the podcast boys, and they rallied all their boys. Well, I might reach them because I can shoot whiskey, but like not a lot of progressives are going to speak the language of those men and get them to understand or relate to them, right? So I think we need more Graham Platners. Just like I said, I was a fan of Eminem evolving from homophobic slurs to where he is right now. I feel that way about someone like Graham Platner, who can say, yeah, man, I used to be like you. I used to think this way, or that was my experience until I had other experiences that showed me more than I didn't know at the time. And I think it needs to come from somebody with a gristly voice who may or may not kick their ass, or be able to at least kick their ass. And so I feel like instead of discarding him, I'm happy to listen to what and I agree, it's not our choice. It's for the people of Maine. But I think the way this goes will dictate whether or not other men or other women or people, but specifically being able to reach this demographic that we feel is kind of lost, that we're kind of losing to white supremacy, is going to take men who look and sound like them. And I think we need more of this. And I think that how this goes is going to indicate whether other people will throw their hat into the ring.
Right.
Of leadership.
And I also think, as much as you are correct, and I do agree with you, I think that also sucks. I just want to say that too. It's like, I don't like that we have to kind of manage and infantilize these white men a little. Like, but it is the truth. That it is the truth of it, that we have to allow people to learn and grow. And I do think that you are correct in saying that someone like Graham Platner is going to be able to speak to these people in a way that will hopefully get them to evolve and change their mind. But I do think it goes to being said, it's like, why are white men one of the only groups that have to be babied and coddled to be brought along?
Because they were the deepest in the privilege.
Right.
when you're in it, it's not to you, right? So like that's just your existence. So all of us, and by all of us I mean not people of color, but like on the outskirts, right? The queers, having our eyes open over all this time. I mean, they were the deepest in that, and so
Mm.
they're the furthest to pull out, I think, to be honest.
Yeah.
And because we all agree that we were raised in a racist society, right?
Mhm.
That, and who does that affect the least? The straight white male. And so I think that they're just a little bit deeper in and need a little bit more help being able to see things from a different perspective, and that perspective being outside of themselves.
Yeah, I
Right?
get that.
Nobody, in my experience this is a very basic explanation of human behavior, but we have a place in Provincetown called Commercial Street. Pedestrians are always walking down the street. Pedestrians in Massachusetts have the right of way. 90% of the time, a white man walking up to a crosswalk just keeps walking without stopping or looking or waiting. And that is because white men think we're all anticipating their next move. And that is just something you have to really undo. There's a privilege of this whiteness, and it's mostly straight guys too,
Yeah, it's straight white men think that space is theirs to take and theirs to relinquish to other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
I do want to go back a little.
okay.
Do you think that Graham Platner is a Nazi?
No.
Do you think that he ever was a Nazi?
No.
Right.
You know what? Let me say this. I should read more of his Reddit comments that might have been race-based. I read some of the gay ones, the homophobic ones, I should say the gay ones, which honestly, homophobia is gay. Do you have comments specifically that...
Well, let's get to the Reddit comments in just a second, but like the left or Republicans are calling him a communist in order to get people to not vote for him. There are a group of people that I imagine are like liberal Democrats who are now calling him a Nazi to try and get rid of them. You kind of can't be a Nazi and a communist.
I mean, I think you could. I think you
Do you
could.
think-
I think you could want all white people to have all the same things.
But Graham Platner has admitted to being a communist. Graham Platner has never admitted to being a Nazi, and he is on record repeatedly saying that his entire life he has fought against Nazism. He has hated Nazis his entire life, and that this tattoo was a mistake that he had made unknowingly, which I'm not saying that that's a get out of jail free card, dumb and being an idiot and accident. I haven't accidentally gotten any Nazi tattoos as well as so many people have. But there have been plenty of people who have accidentally gotten Asian symbols tattooed on their body that mean like, what does yours mean?
What does it mean? I have no idea. What did they say it meant?
Right.
Like real, true, and sincere. And it probably means popcorn.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I thought it would be funny to get a real tattoo that meant real. I'm a real person. I'm real. 98?
It's very 98. Yeah.
It's very 98.
Yeah.
I think the other component is the timing of all these comments after coming back from war. Well, and he's readily like, I'm in the middle of PTSD. I'm a war veteran with minimal health care. That's the other part where I'm like, man, I, number one, would never run for... People are like, run for office. No, and here's why. All of this, right? Like,
yeah.
Just feel like, again, when we talk about mental health in this country, the idea that a young man coming back from war would have PTSD and severe depression, and now when he's climbed out of it and is poising himself as a pretty progressive leader and has grown into these beliefs, why we don't say, yeah, I mean, he was really sick for a while, and he was really sick because he went to war for our country. Now, we can get into the debates of whether or not we should ever be there. We could get into war debates another time, but I think most Americans can go, hey, if you sign up to defend me and you come back fucked up, I'm going to find some grace for you to move out of that into a new space in your life.
Yeah. No, I think that is a very good point. He came back from the military service. He has said that a lot of these comments on Reddit were directly after his service. He was feeling the effects of post-traumatic stress disorder. He was feeling very disenfranchised, very disconnected from the community that he returned to. And I think what should be said is so many young men from the military come back, feel that exact same way, and they find community in far-right organizations. And Graham Platner has said he was lost for a little while and now has found community in what I think community is, which is supporting the people around you, wishing a better life for the people around you. And I think his policies and his policy positions support that. He wants Medicare for all because that would make the people in his communities and the people around him have a better life.
Right.
So I think it is, as much as it's a messy road that I think is obviously and maybe rightfully being criticized, I think it is somewhat of a positive thing in the end, because he ended up finding a community that I think is a positive thing rather than a negative.
I agree with that. Sorry, I had a thought that I was going to come in so hard with right after you finished talking, but then I lost it, and so I just stood there. And no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I agreed with you so much that I was going to be like, yes, and then whatever that thought was went. It went away.
Well, let's talk about the specific Reddit comments now.
Yeah.
Okay. So there have been a lot of Reddit comments that Graham Platner has also been criticized for.
Okay.
Let's see. All these comments were made from 2013 to 2021. And there's been about 4 or 5 controversial things they have come across. One of which is there was a thread that was titled "White People Aren't as Racist or as Stupid as Trump Thinks," in which Graham Platner responded, "Living in white rural America, I'm afraid to tell you that they actually are." Yeah, I'm over here like, well, I mean, like, let's read the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a little. I've said these things too. I mean, on my morning talk show, which was probably not the right place for it, I said, if you're planning on voting for Trump, you're one of 3 things: you're a greedy person, a racist person, or a dumb person. And
was that one of the comments that he put forward as like, this is what I'm proud of? Because there was like Reddit comments that came out that they were like, Graham Platner said this, and then he came out and was like, yeah, but I also said this.
Well, I'm not sure.
Did you? Yeah. So there are 2 components of the Reddit comments. Some were, because that sounds like something that he would be like, yeah, I said that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not mad at that statement, especially as a throwaway I mean, not a throwaway comment, but a comment that is probably 50 lines down in some Reddit thread. Another one in 2021, he commented on a thread. He said, as he got older, he became a communist. Also not mad at that. I know communist has been a dirty word in America because of propaganda and a lot of things, but true communist ideals aren't necessarily bad in theory. Obviously, over the course of human history, they have turned out to be bad in practice. But I think that the ideals of communism aren't necessarily a bad thing.
I'm looking at this. October 16th, 2025, CNN first reports on a series of controversial Reddit comments made between Platner between 2018 and 2020. So they focus on that first. These included calling himself a vegetable-growing, psychedelics-taking socialist and advocating for armed resistance against fascism. Do they understand that he's in the military? What do you mean advocating for armed resistance against? Yes, please,
That
more
is why
advocating for armed resistance against fascism.
That is why we have the Second Amendment.
And then you go, and then it's like, all right, yeah, but in 2013, first of all, I respect that he admitted that he has Reddit posts that said were homophobic slurs, add LGBTQ jokes, and sexually explicit stories denigrating gay men. He said it. He said, I said it and I was wrong. More white men being like, I was wrong. Try that on for size, right?
Yeah.
Like, great. That's why we're all like, what?
It also, like, I think it has to be said that a lot of times I feel like people get caught doing these things and their apologies seem like what is it called? Like when you do something bad and you have to like go on a media blitz to cover it up.
Yeah, that. I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
Wag the dog? No, that's something else.
Yeah, if like an apology tour.
Yeah.
It seems like what he's saying is genuine. And obviously that's only a personal opinion, and who knows if I have bias built into that. But like when other people are like, oh, I said this and I'm so sorry and blah, blah, like sometimes it doesn't seem legit. But I think, in my opinion, potentially with bias, like I think he seems genuine in his apologies. And I haven't seen the only comment that I found, maybe I didn't dig deep enough, that is reported that he said about gay comments was that like he called someone gay as an insult, and then in parentheses, and not the like this person's gay, and then in parentheses, and not in the fun dick sucking way. And I'm like,
Like, if he was my friend, he could say that.
yeah,
Right, like, that would be fine. I think there was a 2013 comment about Black people don't tip. And in the grand scheme of what white Marines were saying in 2013, I feel like it's clearly racist, but there's worse racism by a lot other than being like Black people don't tip. Like, yes, it's a terrible generalization, but
I mean, I did watch him explaining himself when it comes to these comments, and he said that this thread was what questions about stereotypes based on specific races do you have? And he posed the question, what is it about Black people not tipping? Which I don't think, like, obviously there is race built into that, but I hate to break it to you, and I'm sure you might know this, but these are conversations that have happened in every single restaurant on the planet, and they're not specifically about. And I'm not saying it's limited to why don't Black people tip. It's why doesn't the white after church crowd doesn't tip?
right.
Why does this group order water this way? Why does this group?
If you're visiting from another country, why don't you know the custom is to tip?
Yeah, there is a tip culture. It's called tip culture because it is a culture, and tipping culture is different culture in different cultures.
Back to your point on, I feel like he's responding to this authentically. I think that this is another great opportunity to learn from whatever side of the aisle we're on about, I've always said that Trump's appeal is the authenticity. There's a realness to it that you don't get in politics. And we have yet to have anyone, I mean, AOC and Bernie use it on our side, I think. But let's admit, they're both a little gay. And so to have somebody using that authenticity as a skill and a sword for progressive values, I think this is a great indicator of what we can expect to work. And I think that it's going to be a big indicator for the rest of the country. I think between this and the New York City mayoral election, I think we're going to find out a lot about where our country actually is, because I hope the random kidnapping of people and disappearing of people off the street has woken up enough of America that this is going to be the first big test of how awake are we. Like, you say we're woke, but how awake are we right now, right?
No, definitely.
You too? The same thing happened to you that happened to me before.
There was one comment in 2013 on Reddit that I think is so fucked up.
Okay, what is it?
This is the one thing where I'm like, fuck that guy.
Okay. Yeah.
He basically said in 2013, he said that in today's current climate, when every whisper of misplaced hands bring down a feature-length film, anyone who actually thinks the military is purposefully covering up rape is clearly an idiot.
Yeah.
And
that's a
I'm a
problem.
person, I believe women, I believe victims of sexual assault, especially within the military.
Yes.
And I think that is a really fucked up statement to make. And I don't think that that is true. And I wholeheartedly disagree with him. And that is the one thing where I'm like, fuck
Has
that
he
guy.
addressed that one specifically?
Not that I've seen.
And should we, now that we're getting to it and we're like, wow, he was problematic in every way, huh? Right? Because as you're saying, there was like, all right, so there's racism, and then there was the anti-Semitism, and then there was the homophobia, and oh shit, he thinks women should get raped too. Like.
Yeah, no, I hear
But
ya.
also feels pretty standard issue 20-something-year-old white Marine 2007 or 2013. Like, it's not ideal. And I would not have elected that person. Well, I mean, I want to elect anybody here because it's in Maine, but I feel like as far as rural Maine folk go, the best you can hope for is growing into some wisdom. right? I mean,
Yeah.
I do hope somebody asks him about that one, because I feel like sexual assault in the military and the work of women to integrate the military with themselves, for women to be able to have roles in the military and to be taken seriously,
Mhm.
is something that needs to be discussed more. So I hope, and hopefully we'll hear more. I mean, at the end of the day, are we, you know what, let me ask you this, because I don't think I understand Maine's politics very much. They're going into a primary? Or, okay, but New York mayoral is going to be, is that the primary too? These are all
No.
primaries. No, this is the actual mayoral election in New York. Then we did
Yeah,
the
Zoran
primary already.
Mamdani beat Cuomo in the ranked
Right.
choice voting primary a few months ago, and we're going into the mayoral election.
But Maine, we're going into a primary between him and Collins.
No. Primary,
I mean, him and Janet Mills. Sorry.
Janet Mills, amongst others. And I think this is an opportunity where I feel like if people wanted to, they could step into Graham Platner's position. Like if they wanted to get loud and be like, I also want Medicare for all and free childcare and for people to be able to eat, but I have no Nazi tattoos. And
I mean, that's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a liberal white guy who didn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. But again, like, it kind of doesn't matter what I think. It's like up to the people of Maine. And it seems the consensus that I've seen is that people are still very much behind him.
Right.
And for me, I would probably, in this moment, not endorsing them, and nor do I think a vote for a person is endorsing every word that they've ever said. But I think I would still vote for Graham Platner in a primary, because for me, my number one issue is universal health care and Medicare for all. And I think when Democrats say things like expanding access to health care, that means let's keep doing things exactly as they are. I think there's kind of three groups that have become pretty apparent as of late. And I think one of them, which is a pretty big group, is the Republicans who are currently trying to push through a bill that would increase people's healthcare premiums by 300, 400%. And Democrats who want things to stay exactly the same. And there are other people who want the world to be better, specifically around healthcare. And those are the people I want to vote for. And I still put Graham Platner in that category.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm still into this guy if I was voting in Maine.
Yeah.
But I would most certainly also, if I was voting in Maine, consider just what you said. And great point. It could be somebody else.
Yeah.
And this could have been somebody who laid a little bit of the groundwork.
Can we talk? I know we said we were only going to talk about Graham Platner really quickly, but something happened yesterday that I want to touch on, because I've touched on this idea, I think in our first or second episode.
Okay.
Don Lemon was on a podcast.
Sorry, KT and I have a lemon tree at our house that we named Don Lemon. And so
Cute.
all summer, all I've heard is Don Lemon and referred to the shrub. And how often do you talk about Don Lemon? So when you said Don Lemon, I was like, my plant?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did something yesterday that I've talked out against in the past. Basically, anything that I don't view as bad or as an insult, I'm not going to use it as an insult because that person would view it as an insult. And I said this before when it was like these billboards and these ideas that Trump and Putin are gay.
Right.
And I understand that people do that, say those things to get to Trump, to get to Putin or whatever, because they know that they would be insulted by it. But I feel like putting gay upon someone is never an insult. Being gay is one of the proudest things I am of myself, and also has enriched my life so much. And I think is a beautiful, amazing thing. And I'm not going to use it as an insult ever just because the other person says it or would take it as an insult. So Don Lemon got on a podcast last night, and Megyn Kelly was brought up.
Yes.
And he said, I think she looks trans.
No, that's not what he said.
What did he say?
He says, and this is the part that makes it worse, because if he would have said, I think she looks trans, she would have heard that being trans is an insult to her. And just what you said, you insult people, right? You can't speak to everybody in your language because it might not be an insult to them, right? So what he said was, she looks clockable. Now, that is an insult that only the gay community would understand, the queer community, right? Like, I don't think Megyn Kelly knows what clockable means. So that was the part where I was like, actually, bro, no. Like, I agree with what you're saying. To put to imply something is negative towards somebody, it's just saying like, oh, she looks trans and that is somehow a bad thing. I agree, that's terrible. But I think it's worse that he said she looks clockable because she won't even get that insult.
Yeah, I actually want to look it up because I think he ended up saying both. Right. So he said, I think she looks trans. I think she looks clockable. And here's the thing. I feel like there's no way to look trans. I think that is a way of people stereotyping, and because here's the thing. Womanhood, manhood, masculinity, femininity, transness is all a spectrum. And there are women.
I mean, I think she looks like a drag queen. And that's very different. Right. And I think
that is different. There's it's the makeup. It's what she's putting
it's the hyper
on.
femininity. It's the like I know a lot of trans women who are not feminine in any way, shape, or form. Right. But drag queens primarily pretty high makeup, pretty stark lines. Right. And I feel like that makes him even more out of touch because he conflates trans women and drag queens in his own brain.
Yeah, I also think it reinforces like the whole idea of trans liberation that I know you and I are a part of moving forward is the idea of not clocking people, not trying to clock people.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's the trans liberation is about everyone, including non-trans people, being able to live their lives as in any way they choose to appear, in any way they choose to identify.
And that being none of your business.
Yeah. And I feel like saying that any person looks trans and is clockable, whether they are a trans person, whether they are a cis person, whether they identify as whatever, is an insult to the trans community.
I agree.
And I think he insulted the trans community more than he insulted Megyn Kelly. But like, this is why neoliberals are the worst. Like, they suck.
One of the reasons. And here we are.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad I got to sit down and talk to you at least once this week.
I'm
Even
also
though
excited.
We got to talk twice while we were frantically
trying to figure out how to make this work.
Sessions work.
No, I'm glad we did this because when I was like just reading stuff last night, I was like, man, I really just want to talk to Harrison about this.
I know.
And so we did. And we talked for a lot longer than I thought we would.
I know. We were like, we'll talk for like 15 minutes. It's been an hour.
Yeah, maybe it is a full episode. All right. Well, thank you all for listening or watching.
Yeah, please rate, review, and subscribe on any
platform. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
Sorry for the late drop, but better late than never.
Thanks for listening. Yeah, love you.
Queerly.
See you next time.
Bye.
Queer is in.